Yeah.
First time.
All right, first time. Nicholas.
Hey guys, good to see you. It's my first time for COP, but also was in June at ASBs.
Cool. Nice. So you can like comment with us, Nicholas, to share your experience with us today. Because today, Sanju, if you could just share the screen, please. Because the topic of today. Thank you. And also letting you all know that we are recording, okay? So if you don't want to be recorded, please. Yeah, maybe better watch the recording later. But what we are recording, because we also know that there's a lot of people that are already preparing, very rushed to the, during the 7 days before COP preparation, so they can watch it later. All right. So today's topic is 101, Green Job and Just Transition Working Group at COP. It's a capacity building session. And let me say in advance, like none of us, maybe Marc, no, Marc is a professional already. But, today was me, Marc, and Zuzanna. Zuzanna wasn't be able to join us here. But let us say from advance that we are not here as because we have more knowledge than all of you guys. All of you guys have each of us, we have different knowledges and different experiences, different backgrounds, equally valuable. All right. So today's capacity building, it's more, we can face it as an open space. So we can share our experiences with the people that are going for the first time. Mainly, this is today's public audience. Those people that are going on the first time, and those people that already went to some SB, in the or the conference that happened before the COP in the middle of the year, and also in the previous COP. You're also welcome on this session to share our experience during our presentation. So yes, so today we're gonna talk about Marc. Are you there, Marc?
Hello.
Good.
Yeah.
Great, thank you, Marc. So yeah, next slide, please. Then let's begin. So today's agenda, we're gonna take out an overview about the UNFCCC and YOUNGO. I guess this is a copy paste of I guess Marc, you heard on the constituency call, right? Marc, you're muted. And after we're gonna yes.
What's the question again?
Perfect. Now we're gonna explain a brief overview about the UNFCCC and YOUNGO. This is the same slide that I used on of your constituency call. So I guess yeah, we can explain it together. And then we're gonna go to the 101 on understanding just transition, a bit of the history, a bit of the current phase by Marc, and then we can share and to give you an idea of what a daily basis can be in the COP28, and then how to better advocate and finish it, aligning our goals and task divisions of the Green Job and Just Transition team at COP. And let me say also to mention that this is important either if you're going or if you're not going to attend. Okay, so maybe this can be useful for the next opportunity in the future. So let's get started with the first agenda. Next slide, please. Nice. So, Marc, do you want to explain us how we were created, YOUNGO?
Okay. Yeah, pretty short. Okay. So mainly the UNFCCC, as you may know, now has many constituencies, but what does it come from? So mainly in the Earth Summit of Rio de Janeiro, in which the convention was agreed in 1992, they identified 9 sectors that were important for climate, for the problem that at that time of climate change. And after many struggles in 2009 in Copenhagen, it was it was created like YOUNGO. It was recognized as a constituency with voice within the UNFCCC. But as you may know, like we are now in COI 18 because the Conference of Youth, because the first Conference of Youth was held in Montreal, in Canada, back in 2005. And yeah, and so right now we are one of these NGO constituencies.
Next slide, yes.
So important. So YOUNGO, it's a children and youth NGOs constituency. So it's not an organization. It's not, I repeat, I mean, it's not an organization. You can be, you are accredited in your badge. Like many people ask for YOUNGO badges. YOUNGO badges do not exist. It's Children and Youth International, which is an organization, or it's UNICEF, which is an organization, or it's I don't know, Save the Children, other organizations. One distinct feature of YOUNGO is that it can be composed by individuals, which is probably one of the only constituencies that works that way. Other constituencies are umbrellas of organizations. So that, for instance, the Climate Action Network, it's composed by different national environmental organizations, such as in Spain, it's called Ecologist in Action. In Germany, it's Klimadelegation, and so on. So in YOUNGO, you can participate individually, but that does not entail it's your organizations. So, I mean, right now, I guess that everyone here is accredited, but don't apply for it. I mean, YOUNGO badges, it's not YOUNGO. It's from other organizations that lend badges that YOUNGO distributes. But it's a complicated issue, okay? So whenever you speak, you have to be cautious when you're at COP that you should not speak on behalf of YOUNGO unless you have permission from other members of YOUNGO to provide that you will speak from a YOUNGO perspective, because I mean, we are a flat-based organization and we're a mechanism. We're a mechanism to represent youth, but not an organization in itself. Next slide. So mostly what YOUNGO means to do is that it's to create awareness, knowledge, and capacity building, such as what we are doing. In terms of this, trying to capacitate people to navigate throughout the UNFCCC and throughout the COPs, because climate change is complicated, and so is climate change politics. Also to collaborate, cooperate, and create networks between young people, so that YOUNGO is made and we create things such as this working group, such as other opportunities, so that when you arrive to the COP, you're not alone. Policy, lobby and advocacy. What is YOUNGO for? Some people do not understand what YOUNGO is. YOUNGO is created to do policy, to influence policy. I mean, we also do awareness, but we are not here to do national policy. I repeat, we are not here to do national policy. You can find other places to do national policy advocacy. This is not the UNFCCC. This is the UNFCCC, and this is not the place to do national policy advocacy. Unless, well, you can take the advantage of like having the minister there, but please don't use YOUNGO for that. I mean, we are here to influence the UNFCCC processes, okay? And also youth action, which means that we provide the voices of youth, and we are expected to provide a youth perspective. So, I mean, you can have your own knowledge, your own expertise on some topics, but we are expected to provide a youth-oriented perspective, because that's what we represent. And also for a vision, I think it's pretty obvious, like a climate positive and just society, living in harmony with nature and the planet. That's actually somehow the first line of the Global Youth Statement in our section. Empowered youth generation, and the UN, where youth is sitting in the decision-making tables. And we will be able to do that, okay? So that's why I am pressing so much to understand that we are influencing UNFCCC processes, and we have to be cautious. We are inside of climate diplomacy. I mean, we are not going to a place where other activists gather, which is a place where other activists gather, but it's not a gathering of climate activists. We are gathering people who are making decisions, and that is a place for politics and diplomacy. So we have to be very cautious for that. I instate the word cautious. So, I mean, just be aware of where you are. The next slide presents the many constituencies that represent civil society, like many other NGOs, from business, research and independent NGOs, the farmers, the trade unions NGOs, women and gender, indigenous people, environmental, and local governments and municipal authorities. We mostly interact with the trade unions NGOs, which is the ITUC. We did capacity building with them a couple of weeks ago, and also with the environmental NGOs. They have two, so they are divided in two main organizations. Not because they are two organizations, but there are two umbrellas. The Climate Action Network, so when the NGOs speak, or Climate Action Network or Demand Climate Justice. Climate Action Network is like the branch of the NGOs, which is following mostly negotiations, and Demand Climate Justice is like the people who are mostly focusing on actions, on trying to move to move the people from the civil society because we can do actions within the COP. I mean, you will be able to demonstrate and to do protest within the UN area. Next slide. So how do YOUNGO participate in the UNFCCC? Flat structure. This is important. Flat structures mean that we are not hierarchical, which means also a sense of responsibility. But that's my personal opinion. Flat structure means that as a contact point, I do not have any preference for anything. I just pass on information, but I also have to take care of many things. And flat structure means that I have to pass information, but you have to be responsible as well. Because if we have a lot of things to do, but no one takes responsibility, then we become vertical by the sense of by the effects of what is happening, because if I have to make all the decisions, then it's not a flat structure anymore, and we have to take decisions, and I don't want to do that. I mean, that's why we do selection committees for speaking opportunities. That's why we also rotate for speaking opportunities, mainly in interventions, but we have to do it all together. We have to do it together. And that's the essence of being a flat structure, so that even I am the contact point, I am the person who is pushing you to do stuff. I am another person such as you, okay? I'm not a coordinator, I just liaise. But as a matter of fact, I do more things that I should. So that we have to balance a bit. I mean, you will have to take responsibilities at COP. We take, also for the FP, so YOUNGO in general has two focal points who are not the bosses of YOUNGO. Actually, they barely speak in public. They delegate almost everything. So that's why we are working a lot of opportunities, because the focal points distribute them among the working groups. So we're guided by consensus. I mean, we try not to vote at COP when we can have disagreements, but we don't vote. We operate by consensus. Also, equal voice, which is that we engage like a variety of people. Like we are here. I think that we're 4 continents in this singular room. So it's important to understand that we have to balance the voices between the global north and the global south. We will try to make it possible. And yeah, and YOUNGO is also a flagship within the UN, with the UN system, because we are the oldest children and youth constituency within a UN space. Next slide, please. I think it's all. I already explained that. Well, this is the YOUNGO bubble. I mean, this is a bubble because it's not a structure, you know. So like there's people who are the focal points, which are like everywhere and try to distribute the tasks. There's also the global coordination team who tries to make things done. And then the working groups, we focus on thematic areas, and also individuals organizations. I have to say that I don't like this graphic because it looks like there's individuals who are not in working groups. And everyone has to have. I'm glad that you're here, but we have to be more. I have 59 responses to the spreadsheet of people who say from the working group that will probably go to COP, and we're just 12 people here. So we have at least be 5 more people. Next slide, please. So other working groups, I'm not here to do promo for other working groups, but we will liaise. We liaise for many other working groups. For instance, now we have Mete in the room. Hi, Mete. Regarding this slide, for instance, we liaise with other working groups when we think that we don't have capacity or we share a space. For instance, the ILO has shared an opportunity to speak in an event about just transition, migration, and jobs. And right now, our selection committee is the people that have volunteered for selecting people to speak in places are absolutely out of capacity. They're selecting like 5 different things. And also the topic, we don't have that much expertise on migration. So I have sent an email to the migration working group. Hey, can you provide us with a speaker? And they said, okay, we will try to help with this, and this is how we do it. So yes, Mete, we will provide a speaker for the Just Transition Pavilion in migration, and we will do it together with the migration working group. It's not there, but it's just for a general thing. So what has been doing YOUNGO for the last year, and we do that all the time, it's to create a global youth statement. We try to synthesize all the demands of children and youth across the world and represent them. YOUNGO as a mechanism to give the demands to the policymakers. That's the sense of being a mechanism. That there's if I am not wrong, 750,000 people filled the form for this global youth statement, and then each working group elaborated based, and we did as well. Latifa's not here right now. And we also did that and funnel these demands to policymakers. And this document is very important. It's very simple. You go to COI18UAE.org. Well, probably not that easy. But if you text COI18 in Google and then you go to Global Youth Statement, there you will find the condensed demands. The condensed demands, each working group, each thematic area that I will present has many condensed demands. I invite you to have it like with a star next to it in your laptop. It's very important, because if you have been approached or you are in a place where they're talking about other things that are not just transition, you can check what, not YOUNGO, but the youth in general that have been in this process, what do they think about this specific thematic. So please use it. We are using it in YOUNGO interventions. We use it in bilateral meetings with parties or any conversation, as I said. So I invite you to, so if anybody can check that and share that in the chat. What are the sections? You will see that just transition is not there, because we are dealing it on the global context of reimagining and transforming economies. We can say that one of the goals of Just Transition Work Program can be reimagine and transform the economies. Maybe too broad, maybe too much ambitious, but let's say that. And you can find all the other topics that you can see here. So next slide, I think that's the last one. Awesome. Should I introduce Just Transition as well?
Yusuke will do that, I suppose.
Awesome, yeah. Because
Me?
I have to drink water, and I don't like to speak that much.
No, yes, but I guess
Yusuke.
you're more competent on speaking on this behalf. But like, just before keep pushing forward, and Marc, please drink the water meanwhile. Is there any question or doubts till now about YOUNGO in general? We're gonna have 5, and each of the end of the topic we can make a quick Q&A session. And after the session, we can also open a space to a broader discussion. So any doubts, questions? Is it clear to everybody what YOUNGO is and stands for?
Yeah, it is clear. Just want to know whether we will be getting the slide or not. So I think getting slide will make us, or if we have any confusion later on, will be helpful to us, I guess.
Good, good. Thank you so much. Then Marc, can I pass the floor?
It's mentioned. It's in the global youth statement. Is that the title, the headline, is reimagining and transforming the economies, because that's what we did last year, and because we see it like in the larger arena of the social and economic aspects of climate change.
All right.
Hello.
Yes.
Thanks,
I
Marc.
think-
Can I just ask a follow-up question?
Yes.
All right. So thanks for specifying that. That's no problem at all. Normally, the Global Youth Statement is developed during COI, right? Or is it done throughout the year? Because normally there's a statement that comes out of COI, right? And do you imagine that the Just Transition will stay under this headline, or that it might be that there might be, in addition to the submission, further sort of statements from YOUNGO related to Just Transition?
Well, that's kind of out of my ability to change it. So what we do, what we've done for the last months, is to first of all elaborate from the working group, like our draft ideas on what should be the priority, just providing the general timeline. So in August and September, we did a draft over the main priorities that we wanted to have as in the Just Transition Work program. Mainly it's in the submission that we presented to the UNFCCC. Then we checked the responses from the general poll, and then we try to like connect with other working groups to check that we are all on the same page within at least the arena of reimagining and transforming the economies. And we elaborated some condensed demands. These condensed demands have already been published. Then I think that in COI, we are only validating that process. I don't know if there will be, because that's my first time at COI, I don't know if there will be any place to like change the wordings. I hope not, because that's already been like a lot of work. But I will expect what will happen. In COI, we share the whole document. Right now, we have like the section finished. The section is already finished. So it's a document that we do for, it's a like 5 months process. And regarding the title, yeah, I mean, we wanted to keep the path from last year. Maybe next year we can change the title so that people can find more easy what is the task that they have to search. But yeah, I don't know if there will be any session. I have to check at the Conference of Youth.
And just as a curiosity for answer to this question about the process of the making of the Global Youth Statement. So Global Youth in this COI structure, they have this process like kind of bottom up. So before COI, there's LCOIs, is a local conference of youth. I don't know if you're aware. Those happens in the national level in the countries, and the national youth-led organizations take care if they want to make those LCOIs happening. And after there's also could be our COIs, the regional COI, in this process, and also they take input from the diverse working groups, and they summarize all the ideas in KOI. So yes, just to add. Marc, you're back. So we're gonna go to the next topic. Marc, if you could
Yes.
present us
Awesome.
the brief history and what the current phase of the just
Hold on.
transition work.
Hold on for a sec. Don't share the slides yet.
I'll do that. I'll do that. One second.
Okay.
Hold
All
on.
right.
You can start. Hello, Marc, we can start.
Yes. Oh,
Okay.
to
You're
find
seeing the
it.
slides, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good.
For Marc. Yeah. Let me say, guys,
Yeah,
like
because I was where it's like a work in progress, you know.
for sure. Just to contextualize, guys,
Yes.
it was really, really difficult to make this session happening because Marc is have a lot of things to do, and as he mentioned, like I was out of capacity, so we tried to do
Yeah,
our
I still
best.
have. Yeah, I'm doing it
But
while I'm
still.
trying to finish the budget of the Spanish Youth Council, but it's okay. Yeah, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so just for a
Right.
brief. Yep. Hello.
Yes, Marc, we hear you.
Awesome. Yeah. So what we will cover here is a bit of like the history of the concept of just transition and where we are right now. So we can go to the next slide. So first of all, I shared it to the WhatsApp group, and I would really like that people can check the YouTube video. I hope that everyone here check the YouTube video that was shared in the COP28 Green Jobs and Working Group, the WhatsApp chat. So please, if you haven't done that, that's the section. And then, oops, I think there's a missing slide. I think there's a missing. Can I share my screen?
Please do that.
Yes. I think I'm not allowed.
Okay, one second.
Hold on. No, yeah. I can.
Yusuke, you should make him a co-host.
I can already. So here it is. So can you see my screen?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah. Yeah. So because I wanted to add it. So mainly, where does just transition come from? Mainly, it comes from the labor movement. It comes from the fact that like when factories have to close, then what happens afterwards? We have to like move like many workers from one sector to another, and that poses a serious threat because imagine that you've been like working in a factory for 20 years and then you have to find another job. So what happens? And we are taking this discussion to the climate change area, because due to climate change, some areas that we are working on, and some aspects of our economy that are damaging nature and that are polluting and are creating greenhouse gas emissions, these things have to stop. But what happens is that these economies and these aspects of our structure as humanity under the era of capitalism that have these dangerous effects for nature, there's people working there, and there's people who are like basing their livelihoods inside of these economies, and we are. And then I will share that we are all in that. But in 2013, the ILO conference so started to talk about it, and they started to elaborate some guidelines. And on the 2013, the ICLC, which stands for the International Conference for Labor Statisticians, started to provide some guidelines on how to measure how jobs are green, and how can we deliver an understanding of the role of climate change within the world of work. Then in the 2015, the ILO provided just transition guidelines that were adopted by the countries that are signatory of the ILO. Also mentioned that the ILO, which is the International Labor Organization, is trilateral in terms of like it's composed by the employers, the trade unions, and governments, which is very unique, and that's actually it's one of the oldest organizations before than the UN. And what happens here is that after these just transition guidelines are published, this comes into the preamble of the Paris Agreement. I will share it later. And that means that the transition of the world of work, now we are still in the workforce dimension of just transition, has to be a topic within the climate change talks. In Katowice, Poland, in the COP24, there was one of the non-negotiated outcomes. We will talk about that later. One of the things that were not negotiated but were like just signed and put forward was the Katowice Declaration on Just Transition, and in that countries were compromising to deliver this just transition. Then 2019, the ILO, the UNEP, and I think ILO and UNDP, Mete, correct me if I'm wrong, starts the Climate Action for Jobs Initiative, which is an initiative from governments and intergovernmental organizations to start providing results. You know that claims, I mean, in COP28, you will see many people saying that they will do stuff, but then how we do stuff. So the Climate Action for Jobs Initiative is the way that we do step by step and be accountable of what we do, of how countries and businesses that are pledging for this are advancing. So also there was another declaration in Glasgow, and you will also hear about just energy transition partnerships. It's a catchy word. JETPs stands for Just Energy Transition Partnerships, in terms of how we transit from coal and fossil fuels to other sources of energy, and how we take workers from one mode of work to the other. That means that right now we have covered two areas, and workforce and energy. So the workforce, which has to transit from one mode of the economy to the other, and in one place, energy. And what does the COP27 cover decision say? In Sharm el-Sheikh last year, there was a decision that was within the cover decision of the COP, in which they decided that a just transition work program should be set to cover the energy, the workforce, but other two dimensions. The socioeconomic aspects of climate change and other dimensions that might be of interest of parties. So we see that there has been a shift within from just workforce within companies that have to close, and how this transition is just, so that people are not left behind, to a sense that we are all encompassed by a transformation of the economy. That's why we call our section reimagining and transforming our economies, because there has to be a just transition for all. It's how we adapt to climate change. Is it done in a just way? Are we doing with the communities? How we mitigate also related energies? Who is receiving finance? How are we transiting from one economy that is based on the emission of greenhouse gas emissions to another one which has to be carbon neutral, which has to be net zero and all that stuff. And this is the main thing that has been happening on the just transition concept. Thanks, Mete, for that, because I was lending your, I was borrowing your slide. This comes from a capacity building that we did in this working group. Next slide.
You can do it, Marc.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Sorry.
So should I share?
Yes. Yeah. And, no, I will do it myself. I will do it myself. Yes. Can you? Yes.
Yeah.
So, Mete, you are referring the UN Secretary General, the Climate Summit 2019.
It was just because you were mentioning that the Climate Action for Jobs initiative was by the ILO and UNDP. So it's just to say that it was actually an initiative that was started by the UN Secretary General. But
yeah,
you're doing great, Marc. It's a pleasure to hear you go through the overview.
Yeah. And actually, one last thing is that this kind of like just transition for all was agreed actually in the same week that BON, the subsidiary bodies for the UNFCCC, in the International Labour Conference this year, in the resolution and conclusion on the just transition. So what we have right now, I have to tell you something. COP28 can be exciting, but it's also very boring. Yusuke, when we designed this session, it was like, provide pictures. There's like, I don't have that much pictures. I have a lot of text. Because what we do at COP28 is influence politicians and civil servants. Usually the negotiators, not necessarily are politicians, they are also public servants, and they negotiate text. And what we do is try to pressure the negotiators to change their text or to agree on text. It's boring. Then it will create you some sense of excitement, but it's kind of boring, I have to admit. So what we have right now, the Paris Agreement, they say to take the account the imperatives of a just transition of the workforce and the creation of decent work and quality jobs in accordance with nationally defined development priorities. So when we go to the negotiations on the work program for just transition pathways, and we will go all together and we will take notes. Whenever we hear the decent work and quality jobs, and this should not be an argument because it's already agreed. This is agreed text. Agreed text. I have to do a comparison with theology. I don't know if you know what theology is. Is the studies for like the sacred text, like the Bible or the Quran. So this is kind of like some kind of like diplomatic theology. Whenever it's agreed, and they cannot go back. So I mean, we have this text, and we have a text that was agreed in COP27, which is a very strong language, which is that affirms that sustainable and just solutions must be founded on meaningful and effective social dialogue and participation of all stakeholders. What does that mean? First of all, social dialogue does not mean that society dialogues. No, social dialogue, it's a meaning. It's a word that mentions that the living conditions in general, some countries, mostly developed countries, but hopefully more countries will engage, is that the labor conditions are agreed between the employers and the trade unions. So there's a dialogue between social actors on the living conditions and the living way and the wages and the labor conditions and so on. And in countries such as developed countries and also other countries as well, social dialogue is also about, as I said, living conditions as well. So trade unions and employers also advocate for other stuff such as housing or whatever. So social dialogue means that at least trade unions and businesses have to take which are which are NGOs, which means that they are not governmental, are taking into the decision. Social dialogue, and then participation of all stakeholders. then it's us. Youth, indigenous peoples, gender organizations, and many other stakeholders that affected communities by the ecological transition. So this is very important, and we should all remember that they agreed in 1/CMA. This is how it's read. 1/CMA paragraph 50 is that they committed that this solution should be founded on social dialogue and participation of stakeholders. And also another thing that you have to find in the decision is paragraph 51. It's what I already said: energy, socioeconomic, workforce, and other dimensions. This is already agreed, which means that some parties only want to talk about energy. Some other parties only want to talk about workforce. And some other parties want to stress socioeconomic. And they have to agree again on how to make a work program that fits. And also, I have to say that they are not talking that much about social protection, which is already agreed, and instruments to social solidarity. Some parties, the disagreement is that some of them think this is more about domestic policies in terms of like each country should do their own, and then we can share practices, share knowledge, but not to say what countries have to do. And others are more want more binding results, like guidelines and stuff. And the paragraph 52 say that this work program should be set under to achieve the goals of Article 2, which is mitigation, adaptation, and finance, in the concept of Article 2.2. Which is the common but differentiated responsibilities of each country. And then we will see in COP that they will hold a high-level ministerial roundtable on just transition, which is, I don't remember the date, but I think it's in week 2, okay? So if you're coming to week 2, we will be able to push for ministers. And this is what we will do, because they will agree, they will come and talk about just transition. And okay, questions about just transition? Yes, Yusuke. Okay, so it's changed. So it will be in week 1. Sorry, December 4th.
All right.
Yusuke?
And, I'm gonna make a question, Mr. Marc. What is the current phase of the just transition? Like, do we have a work program? Do we have a space already? Are we going to make a working program plan? Can you explain for us?
So I go back here. If you see, can stress it, but right now it's a matter of domestic policy. So, for instance, in Spain, so we have a strong coal mining sector, and the Spanish government did some just transition agreements with broad participation. Well, I mean, I will not extend. Also in South Africa, they are doing some the just energy transition partnerships. And also in the US, they have been doing strategies for just transition, also in Canada. And there are also partnerships so that countries help each other, so which is the case for South Africa. Right now, it's national policy. And since November of last year, and it was discussed mainly in the ILO, we will move it within a work program of the UNFCCC, which means that we will talk about climate change and just transition. The problem now is how they will want to do this, and what will be the structure of the work program, the content of the work program, the scope, whether it will be just dialogues or it will be elaborating guidelines. We will see. They have to decide what they will. Yes, Mette.
Hi. Yeah, no, it's just to say that so the UN is obviously a big organization, right? And they have different agencies that have different specialized mandates. So the ILO, as Marc was saying, is the UN tripartite agency. So it deals with matters that are related to the world of work. So actually, the just transition understanding that we have is in the ILO is much broader than the just transition understanding that is currently being promoted in UNFCCC. So UNFCCC is the UN agency on climate change, right? So that has a different mandate than the ILO. And up until now, there has been just transition / the social dimension of climate change that has been addressed in UNFCCC. It's just been, for example, in KCI or in other areas especially on mitigation. Now they're starting to think about integration in adaptation as well, etc. So it's interesting that there is a just transition work program being negotiated now, because it means that there will be a dedicated space focusing on the social dimension of climate change, right? So the just transition agenda. So the stuff, both the guidelines and the recent just transition declaration from the ILO, they have been agreed upon by the 187 member states of the ILO and the workers and employers. But they are not the same that are coming to COP to negotiate. So what you will experience is that some of these climate negotiators might not know what's happening in the ILO, and they don't necessarily know that there's already a lot of guidance and an agreement that has happened in the ILO. So it's just to say that it's very interesting what is happening in COP, but we hope that there will be policy coherence between what is agreed upon in the ILO and what is agreed upon in UNFCCC. So that, for example, means that having a broader understanding of just transition, not limited to the workforce exclusively, but also including, for example, affected communities such as young people, but also people outside of work. In the ILO, actually, we also talk a lot about the just transition of businesses. Think about particularly small and medium-sized enterprises that might struggle to transition. So when we talk about a just transition for SMEs, we're thinking about how governments should also support businesses in decarbonization so that we maintain jobs. So that's just to say that when Marc refers to the Paris Agreement, where it says the imperatives of the just transition for the workforce, that's a very narrow definition and understanding of a just transition, where the ILO understanding is broader than that. So it's just because, Marc, I think you said something like, yeah, moving the discussion from the ILO into COP, etc. So I think it will still stay in the ILO as a very important agenda for the ILO, but it's interesting to see what will be decided in COP, because the negotiators there and the ministries and the public officials that are represented there are completely different than the ones that are at the ILO. So that's also something that's really interesting with the youth here, like the representatives from YOUNGO here, because you guys have a much more comprehensive understanding of just transition than many of these negotiators that are literally going to be negotiating the just transition work program. Many of them don't know about the work in the ILO. Many of them don't know all the decades of work that has been going on just transition up until now. They think it's a new concept. So that was all I wanted to add, Marc. Sorry for intervening.
That was wonderful. That was wonderful.
Opposite, thank you. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely interesting. The fact, actually, of negotiation. Some parties mention in their submissions the ILO, some others don't. Some other want reference to the just transition guidelines by the ILO. Some other parties think that they don't want the ILO guidelines to be mentioned because they think it's another mandate. So it's interesting, probably somehow frustrating, because I think that we are fighting as YOUNGO for common sense. Yes, and I will stop. So next section.
Marc, can you do that too?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, it
Yes.
was supposed to be Zuzanna and me, but Zuzanna has a last-minute class. So awesome pictures. Thanks. Okay, so this is what Bond looks like.
Exactly. So thank you so much, Mark, and thank you so much to Mette to be here and bring this and ILO perspective on a just transition. We're gonna we're gonna talk about the daily basis, but very quickly, and after we're gonna take about on a how to advocate better part. And spoiler, this understanding to take documents outside of the UNFCCC, it's very important, guys. So agreed concepts, definitions, they can be taken by other parts of the UN system. You know, you can search it from the on the UN General Assembly documents. You can go definitely on an ILO, or you can go to maybe some regional bilateral agreements and chase for concepts knowledge on those documents and bring it on your advocacy. It's very important. So it's very nice to have ILO person here today. So here now we're gonna get into the fun part for the next hour. So I'm gonna take a lead together with Mark. So this is for the newcomers that are going to COP, and they ask themselves, so what's gonna happen, or what we can expect. But let me say in advance, you're gonna learn a lot there. So here we're gonna just give an overview, but you know, the most important thing that I guess you're gonna learn over there. So let's go to the next slide. So basically, the daily basis of every day, it's Mark. Oh,
awesome. So let me share. Okay. So for I will note them, but it's we start the day with the spokes council and we finish it with the policy debrief, which means awesome. Yeah, Mette saying that she will support us in the WhatsApp chat in the ground. Yeah, I think we will do that. I will share. We do the spokes council at 9 a.m. I want to see everyone here in the spokes council at 9 because there's where we and there's where we meet, we gather, and we share the plans for the day. And then we don't necessarily have the CCTV. We can check the schedule the day before if the secretariat does their job, and parties make it easy for the secretariat to do their job. And if parties don't agree on next meetings, and then we will have to check the CCTV every single hour. I mean, everything can change at any time. So please, I mean, I will do my job as contact point to share the schedule for the next day, but we'll have to be pretty much proactive in checking the CCTV because they change the rooms or they change the time, and it's difficult sometimes to follow. So what we would do is mainly three things. I will repeat that again later, is that we go to negotiating rooms. I mean, also we do another thing, which is to prepare everything. But we go to negotiating rooms, which means that whenever you check, there will be a screen that will go like down this way, and then like many meetings will go one after another. We'll have to check for two ones. The matters related to the work program on just transition pathways. This is us. Also, to the matters related to the forum on the impact of the implementation of response measures. This is also us. There are two, that's KCI, the Katowice Committee on the impacts of the implementation of response measures. Quite a long name, not very catchy, but that's what we call. This is what we have to do. There we'll have this tonight, another meeting at 9 p.m. to talk about the KCI. But yeah, these are the two negotiating rooms, and there we take notes, and sometimes we intervene, just if it's needed, and if time and parties allow. So, and we also prepare very well the interventions, and then we try to have some diverse representation to provide the speech. Then we do bilaterals. We have already done bilaterals online with parties, but then we will do again bilaterals to catch up to see how things evolved and to understand why parties say what they say. And we have also a very diverse representation in the working group in terms of countries and terms of regions. So that's nice, and that we can get all of them. You have to find your own negotiator. That's a very important thing. Also, the side events. We have to cover two kinds of side events: the ones that we organize or that we provide speakers, and then the others that are on our topic, but we have to go to capture what is being said there, because what negotiators say in side events or what other NGOs are relevant that are also advocating say, it's very important to capture this. So we go, we take notes. It's our job. We take notes sometimes, and also we also speak. There are actually 4, I think, the ILO opening plenary. There's also the ITUC side event, the Youth Climate Forum, and another one. Also, there will be Climate Action Network, one of the NGOs, the NGOs will distribute the like a journal that I don't remember, the Earth Bulletin, no, another bulletin in paper. But it's important to YCC, the Youth Climate Champions. Awesome. So yeah, we will have to do an agenda, and I now move to my calendar. I think I prepared this. Can you check my calendar, please? Say.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So this is the first 3 days of. So here's the workshop. Will anybody be in Dubai on Monday 27? Yes, no? If yes, if somebody of you will be in November 27 in Dubai, please
yes,
let me know.
Mark, I will be there.
What?
I will be there on 27th in Dubai.
You will be in Dubai?
Yes.
Okay. So we will have to talk because you have to register. I think that you already registered.
Yeah, I've already registered for the workshop.
For the workshop.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why I forgot about it. Okay, so right now it's pretty much empty because here it's a World Climate Action Summit, and this is mainly politicians talking. I will open the overview schedule. What will happen in the first days of COP? So in the 30th of November will be the opening plenary. In which countries or party groupings will say their first speeches. Some of us will have to be there just to hear who says just transition, who says implementation of response measures, and what do they say about it. Mentioning just transition in the opening plenary means that this topic is important for them, and not saying that means that or that they are indifferent or that they don't like it that much. So important, we will have to be there. Then it will be very fast. There will be the World Climate Action Summit, which means all the heads of government will be. I mean, every prime minister, every president will be there from Friday to Saturday, and but also negotiations will start. So we will have to go check the daily schedules. Then the GST, the last round of GST roundtables, we have been quite, some of us, if we can have people to coordinate with the GST, the global stock take, it's important because they also speak about just transition in the global stock take, mainly in the conclusion, like recommendations to keep up. And one of the things that the global stock take working group, the NDC's working group of YOUNGO has proposed is similar to us, is that just transition should be included in NDCs. So we have to be there just to make sure that if it's in the conversation or not, and who says that. And then we move to, and so this is the, if you check COP28 overview schedule, I invite you to download it and have it always on your laptop as well, because these are this in blue, this is mandated events, which is already agreed topics that have to be covered, and also in the presidency. As you see in Friday 8th, there will be the youth, children education skills. At first, there will, that's why I said week 2, is that the high-level ministerial that was agreed was going to happen on December 8th. Now, also the ILO workshop on gender and just transition and gender, we also have, and other stuff in general from the, as you see, the last days are just finishing the negotiations. And also the day for youth, which is December 8th, we have to attend many events. Also the open dialogue, but this is in my calendar. I will say it again.
Maybe just a question
Yes.
in between there for the negotiations for the last 2 days. Can you quickly give us is it like the negotiations we had at SB where really we have some discussions going on, or is it rather closed forum?
Don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I mean,
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah, you know, if the final negotiations kind of like if it will be behind closed doors mostly, or if we have certain open negotiations where we can enter and listen for Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, so it depends. It depends on how the progress or how the negotiations progress. So there are official negotiation tracks or sessions, both morning and afternoon, and those you as constituents as constituencies can access. And then there are the in-between informal negotiations between the parties, and those we cannot really access. So depending on what they decide and what they need, we should be able to follow the official ones towards the end. So you can see that there's negotiations in the programs up until the 11th, and then the plan is to close on the 12th. So when it says negotiations, we should be able to have the morning and the afternoon session and be able to join those. But the ones that are happening informally between parties, we cannot join, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
So important things that you will have, I mean, we will have a YOUNGO calendar in which this will be there, but this is just for our stuff. So mostly on the at the end of first week. So we will have a side event with the ITUC in which we are selecting one speaker. We will have the ILO opening event of the Just Transition Pavilion. We will have the COP28 open dialogue, which is a dialogue between the presidency, party groupings, and NGO constituencies about just transition. Like the central topic of this is a one-side event held by the presidency, by the COP president. I don't remember his name, and I don't know who will speak there. Probably the focal points, but yeah, we should contribute to drafting the interventions. All the interventions in YOUNGO from the opening plenary. We should also be able to introduce our COP28 outcomes for just transition should be also in the opening plenary. In the open dialogue, then we will have a youth forum dialogue on just transition and technology, which will happen on December 5th. We will have, we are selecting people to speak there. If I insist that, so today is the last day to apply, so please apply. I send that in the WhatsApp group, please apply. Because we want people in the working group that will talk to the negotiators on a stage, so that it's not a bilateral, it will be like a public bilateral on just transition and the technology mechanism. We can talk more about it. Then we will have another short event with the Youth Climate Champions, and the next day we will have a day full of events in the Just Transition Pavilion, mainly at 9:30 a.m. in the morning on youth and skills. Then on December 8th, we will have many events about youth, because it will be the Youth Day. Actually, Mete, I have to say that we have to cancel the briefing that we scheduled, because it's we have an event in which Latifa, one of the members of the working group, will talk with Ban Ki-moon, the former UN Secretary General, about green jobs and skills. So we will have to move the briefing. And I think that's all pretty much. Yeah, we are also organizing an event on trends and just transition in Latin America. And we will introduce the Green Jobs and Youth Pact in the Latin American region and the Caribbean. But how do we do it? So we go to UNFCCC.int. Oh, wow, that's unfortunate. Okay. Sorry, it's in Spanish. So we go to COP28. This is just to avoid to download. You can download the app, but you can also access it through your laptop. So we go to Session and Documents. And this document is very important, the overview schedule, which should be updated by now. No, it's, oh yeah, it's updated. Awesome. Sometimes when you click here, you can download it in your language, not the case. And then you go to, you see that COP is 4 meetings in one, 5 actually. It's the COP meeting, which is like the umbrella of everything, the Conference of the Parties, that serves as a meeting for the conference of the parties, serving as a meeting to the parties for the protocol of Kyoto, and a conference serving as a meeting of the agreement of Paris. And then also the subsidiary bodies that are being held on the first week. So we will have to go to the CMA session. So in the first week, we will go to SABSTA, for instance. Very important to read also the provisional agendas. Let's check if it works. And also we will have to check the schedule in which you can I will need some of you to do this. Control F, just transition, which is mentioned 50 times, but we'll have to filter where we go. Okay, we will have to do that. And then we go to SABSTA 59, for instance. We check for work program just transition pathways. We open it, and some documents will appear here. For instance, this one, and then you can download the synthesis report. I think that it should be somewhere. I think it's CMA 5. I think it's not there. Yeah, there should be the synthesis report. And the daily schedule, COP28, there should be the daily schedule somewhere. But yeah, just check for daily schedule. And there will be, and there will be the daily schedule. Sorry, because I didn't find it. Okay, so this is what we will do on a daily basis. Mostly go to the spokes council in the morning to coordinate with all of YOUNGO. Then we will go to negotiations, either to the KCI or to the Just Energy World Program. It can be on the morning or the afternoon, it depends. Attend side events, speak in side events, prepare and go to the debrief. At the afternoon, we will meet every day at 6 p.m., 5:30, to know what is going on in the other work streams, okay? And that's all. And we also meet to prepare stuff and interventions. Any other question? Yusuke, now I think it's your, oh, yes, Sanju.
Yeah. Let's invite Yusuke to share his thoughts on how to better prepare to advocate. Yusuke, over to you.
Yeah, for sure. Sanju,
Can
can
you
you
share?
just share the
Yeah,
slide?
I'll do that. Or yeah, I'll do that 1 second.
And just to check, temperature check. How many of you guys are still surviving in this session? I know it's kind of long, and it's kind of, maybe it's a lot of information, but I'm sure you guys will understand better while there. So who are here? If you guys can exactly react with emojis, that would be nice just to see. And well, Sanju, share the,
or should
yeah.
Or should we do one thing? We can make all of them turn video so that we could also take a screenshot.
Yeah, we can.
So that we can understand that they are active.
You can share the slide, please.
Yeah, I'll share the slide. So are we taking a screenshot?
Maybe yeah, okay, we can take it now.
Yeah, so Ashish have come. Ankita, Rajan, Nicholas, Jasmine, Antonia, Jin Shuang. Okay. Yeah, so I think you can take a screenshot, Marc. Or Yusuke, you can also
I can do that.
take a screenshot. Okay, so I'll just share.
Wait, I'm gonna take a screenshot. Wait. Hi guys, cheese. Good, that was taken. I'll share it later. Good. So like before, if you can go like one slide before, just to summarize everything that what Marc was saying. So what we recommended you to do, we're gonna share this slide later, and there you can find the website that Marc showed us to check the daily program. This is for understanding the negotiation things that are kind of more, slow pace. The UN pace takes time and stuff. And also check the side events, and you're gonna have a link over there. Side events usually are where it's more about like good practices sharing. You see actual work that the other stakeholders are doing, and maybe if you're having, I guess it's a space where your interest and kind of the hope can be stored again, so you can go back on a daily basis program and on the negotiation and do those stuff. And we also created kind of a template for you, so you can make your own schedule. This is very important. Although your base schedule will change a lot during the days, but before going to COP, it's very important to you to go on the daily program, go to the side events, and also you heard about, like, watch this video again, this part that Marc was saying, those are important sessions. Do your schedule, your base schedule, so you're not going to get lost, because lots of things happening simultaneously during COP, and it's important to you to have your schedule. And those schedule can be also like monitoring and updating on when you're in a spokes council every morning. So I guess this is very important, so like prepare the most in a little time, launch yourself, and adjust, learn, improve. So let's go to the next part. How we get just to my time management, how we get up. I know that we exceeded our time that we was preparing. So let's say I'm gonna try to make it very, very, very quick. Maybe 30 minutes, 20 minutes, we can get it done. But in this part, I'm gonna then pass it very quickly. But what I wanted to present to you guys is what is to echo a presentation that was made with YOUNGO by Madam Miriam Mendel Garcia. She was a former Mexican negotiator, and I was in this session. For this COP, okay. So made prepared this session notes that summarize the key aspects of it, and also will be available in this slide, so you can also like be looking further on her explanation and stuff on this document that I will share. Okay, so now I'm going to try to focus on the most important things. So let's go, let's get it done. So it was interesting during her presentation, because it was a capacity building session that was talking about how we can advocate better in COPs areas. And often she used to bring a perspective that kind of goes against our intuitions. So, and one of the first affirmation that she was making was about, hey, remember that you are not a negotiator. All right, we are observers. And this through this message, what she it was interesting, the ideas was behind of it. She was explaining how since we are not negotiators, we are not held account, we don't have to held accountable on our head delegate or our government representatives. We are free to express our ideas and call upon things as we see them. So for example, here if we have this just transition agenda, we can go. We are observers, we are kind of outside in people, and we can try to embrace concepts. So let's make this just transition my country. I see we have to apply this question throughout the energy sector. We have to talk about in the UNFCCC process. And also this role of we can be the translator. So although understanding the importance of the technical language that we must have there as an observer, we can also like keep in a spirit the intention to make our language more ordinary, more simple, more plain. So it's interesting to see that we position ourselves between this limbo of civil society and the UN and the official discussion spaces. And then when it comes to this domain of the language, Madam Garcia was also highlighting how those keywords and its special meanings are important. Often could be the devils or the angels. So what she was explaining and we suggest is to before COP, please take the last 3 COP decisions, look up on their keywords and meanings, and maybe they have like specific languages. And also like this idea of there's sometimes words that has a different meaning from common and legal senses. And then like we have this case that explain this about the case of the shall and should. Does people know about this case? Just to, if yes, you can say on the chat. And I just wanted to ask a question: which wording is more stronger, should or shall? Do you guys know? Just guess and put on the chat. Should or shall? Which is stronger wording? Should. Perfect. Should. Okay, nice. Yeah, I thought that should was the most strongest. But if we went to the legal concept of should, it's actually not obligatory. It's a strong recommendation, and Shaw has this imperative. Country shall. So yeah, exactly as Antonia said. So this is a great example. So when this Paris Agreement Article 4 was discussed, the original text was shall. So developed country parties shall continue taking lead by undertaking economy-wide absolute emission reduction targets. But then there were a French delegate that made his negotiation to change the wording from shall to should. So countries are not obliged to it. So like those kind of details are very important. And then you can be on this on my like a note taking. There's also like a meaning of like what may mean, what shall mean, what we will means. So yeah, you can be looking at on those stuff like later on the document that is there. Like click here, you can click there, right? Let's go to the next part. And also like one of the interesting aspect, the next slide, please. Another interesting thing that that she brought that is very important is to also enable us to have a more broader view about the global climate governance. Yes, YOUNGO is inside the UNFCCC, but and we know that we always talk about the Paris Agreement, we always talk about the convention, but we cannot forget that there is like 250 multilateral environmental agreements. Majority are in the UN, but it could be in a regional level, on a bilateral level, and those conventions speaks with each other. So it's very, very important to us to expand our literacy about environmental and take a look on what other UN bodies and other discussion spaces are speaking about to make our advocacy better. So and we have Meta here, and please you can go after on the slide and click on this link. This link will lead you to a presentation that was the capacity building session that was made in 17th October with ILO, and there you're gonna find documents from the ILO presentation where that leads to the concept that was agreed inside the ILO spaces. So this is very important to have on mind, because when we often advocate, talk with the government, with the climate negotiators, it's better to use agreed concepts, and maybe those agreed concepts that you are looking for to us that we are looking for. So sorry, that we are looking for. And maybe it's not on the UNF document, where we can find a better concepts that approach our perspective in other areas. So this is very important, and also like this leads, if the convention speaks to each other, if we have to see the spaces. I mean those conventions in a broader way. Also, it's equal to the spaces. UNFCCC is one of the spaces, but we have lots of many other spaces that we can also be pushing our advocacy forward. Okay, so now here I'm talking advocacy in a broader, maybe in a bit broader sense, and also this idea of like often we see the COP presidency as a major, as the highest point of the decision making, or the heads of the delegate of certain delegations as a person that we must speak. But no, sometimes it's interesting to have this perspective. Let's don't get stuck on those the COP presidency. Let's go to the countries that are favorable to our proposals and move forward. Instead of going to the specific national ministry, this person, no, maybe you can go to other the national delegates from other ministries. I don't know, maybe from finance ministry, maybe from international relations ministry, and create a support network. This wording is interesting. Create a support network approaching different ministries, so they can also collectively make pressure. So this idea was very, very interesting, and this oh, we are already here. Actually, I was before, but yeah. And yes, thank you. And then this an example, for example, this nature-based solution. This was a concept that was produced by the Convention on Combat Desertification of the UN, and also by UNEP. And then on the COP27, this term, that nature-based solution, that was created outside the UNFCCC, was brought into the cover decision of the COP27. So this is just an example, exemplification to see how different discussion spaces, different conventions speaks to each other, and we must have a broader view to improve our advocacy. Next slide, please. And then we have finally they have this message brought by her. She was stating, it was interesting, like, your hardest homework is not at the COP, it's a national government knocking at different doors. This it almost goes like in the counter sense of what we are gonna do in the 7 days. But understand, it's very important, our role, to bring in the voices from local to global. But here she highlights this importance to then bring back the information to global, to local. You know, we are not negotiators. We can influence the negotiation, but I guess our work as observers, as advocates, is to also see, not just create the directives, decisions to be a plan of actions that we're going to implement it. And this is also like a very important point, since already decided plan of actions in the national level. And we as YOUNGO, we have this opportunity to go to the local, the global, but we have also to complete our mission. And she highlights, we just gonna complete our mission when we can bring to the local level and really knocking at the different doors and say, hey, this was decided in your country. Position yourself like this during COP. Now we want to see on a national level and hold them accountable. So one thing that I really wanted to invite you to do during COP is find the climate negotiator of your country, the delegates of your country. You know, so after, you know, maybe you can find a good, you know who you can, you know, hold accountable. And also this this idea of like she was saying, like, approaching climate negotiators during COP. Most of the time she was explaining climate negotiators, they have a good willing to address climate change. However, they have to hold themselves, mainly during COP, accountable towards the head of delegate, towards their countries, and maybe they don't have enough space to welcome new items for advocacy. So she was explaining how important it is to approach those climate negotiators when they are in a different mindset, when they have 6 hours of sleep at a minimum, and that means also before, as we are doing, and later. So I guess this is a very important topic to be put on our mind. Your guys are going later. Bring us back to the global to local. And I guess also YOUNGO is a very interesting space, so we can share good practices on how we can make this advocacy happen in a global and also in a national level. So like go to the next slide, please. So those are the I guess the key messages that that was on this UN's language session. The role of advocacy is speak on behalf, and we are kind of at the same time in a process. So it's different from activism, because activism is a really like outsider, really like in a more in an individual level. Advocacy comes on speaking on behalf of the collectiveness, and the collectivism in this case the children and youth. So we are in this. We are a good translator, stepping in both spaces. The importance of having this multi-level perspective, how the local advocacy is equally important as the global advocacy. They are complementary to each other. This idea of the polycentric view, That means decision and actions must be taken in different discussion and decision-making spaces. And UNFCCC is one of them, but there are others that we can also approach. We can be there also, because maybe in other spaces, the same topic is less controversial. So, or we can have a different type of agreement, and then we can use the terminologies that was decided in one space to another, as was explained by Meta today, how like the concept was approached in a different manner in ILO, how in the UNFCCC could be made in a different way, but how to dialogue themselves, right? So we can have more holistic approach on our advocacy, and also like don't be stuck too much on the mainstream COP and presidency and heads of delegates only. Create the support network, and also and also the last message, that this is why we need to help each other. We need to do peer-to-peer review, and we need to empower each other as a constituency, because it's impossible to us to be following every agenda. And you're gonna see how pleasant is the sensation of being set in the one table of negotiation with your placards written YOUNGO here, and then there's a picture in a WhatsApp of another group of with the same placard written YOUNGO in the other side of the venue in other table of negotiation. And this is and we have to share information with each other. We have to share, hey, this term, since the details are evil, like, you know, is this what this, I don't know, this participatory in this context mean really like this leads to a meaningful participation? This is challenge should, hey, do you think that this text is reinforceable, or it's too weak, you know? And empower each other in a sense of, we are not experts maybe, but we have to, you know, like to share responsibilities. We have to share our good practices, and, you know, together make this happen in a best way possible, in, you know, enhance the collective sense of the climate action. And so those are the kind of the key messages that I wanted to share with you. All right, thank you. And then we're gonna go to the last 8 minutes to Marc to present us a bit of. So
no, I'm actually we are 8 minutes late.
So sorry.
So yeah, I mean,
okay.
what we will do is that, so I think that we can set that in person. So for the next meeting, we will talk about like how to distribute roles. Okay, so we will let that for the next meeting, because we are kind of late.
Perfect.
And yeah, but thank you everyone for attending, and because training is very important and knowing what we're doing is important. So let's close now. And yep, I'm adding you to the WhatsApp group. And
thank you all.
Yes, and Mete, we are going to confirm you the person on this Friday, okay, for the opening session of the Justice Pavilion.
Thanks, that sounds great. And everyone, I put, like, feel free to share in the chat also the link that I sent, because it highlights a few different events that's happening in the Just Transition Pavilion. There's this one, I'll put it again. It's just in case anyone is interested for like specific Just Transition event with a youth agenda. There is also a climate cafe on climate anxiety and resilience, which I think will be quite interesting and fun. So anyways, just wanted to say that, and then I hope to see you all at the Poetry Slam and open mic as well. In the
yeah, Marc, just a question.
Yeah.
So for this Just Transition Pavilion, do we have to apply separately for any events happening under?
What do you mean by applying?
Like, do we need to register for those events explicitly?
Not. I think we have not. Like to attend, all pavilions are open.
But how can we access those calendar?
Hold on.